Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And today, we've got another setup out here that I'm really excited to see what it can do, because at least in theory, it should perform pretty well. And I do have to mention, if you guys hear any cows mooing in the background, we just got some new ones over here in the field. And just because they see me down here, they want food or attention or something. And they have not stopped making noise since I showed up today. So if you hear them, that's what it is, and they are perfectly fine. But either way, we've got a turkey set up to pattern, and it's one that should give us some pretty good results anyway. So for the shell we've got out here today, I brought out some more of the Apex 20 gauge loads. These ones are the LT20, 2 3/4 inch, ounce and 3/8 of number 9 TSS shot, moving about 1150 feet per second. And the previous time we tested these through the tight wad choke, they did okay, or at least they shown us some promise anyway. And since these are an Apex shell, they should perform pretty decently, but they are a 2 3/4 inch shell, so that might not help them quite as much as the 3-inch version. But with today's choke that has shown us some fantastic results with a similar shell, I'm thinking we should be able to see a little bit better pattern. And as for the setup we've got out here today, I brought out the Stevens 301 20 gauge with this choke. This is the Cabela's Blackmaxx 575 constriction turkey choke, and for being like a $30 choke or something, it did fantastic with the Herder's TSS shells a little while back. So I'm definitely excited to see what it does with these Apex shells today, because it should, or at least I'm thinking it should, give us a really good looking pattern. But as for the test today, everything is going to be the same as usual. I have the turkey target set up at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph, so we'll be able to get our speed and see how close it is to their box claim. So let's get you guys a view of the target. We'll take the shot, look at the chrono, and then go down and see how they actually performed. I have some decently high hopes for this setup, but I think it's going to come down to how well can the 2 3/4 inch Apex shells actually perform. I hope we see some good results, but there's only one way to find out. So let's go over here and shoot it and see what kind of results we can get. Okay, so that shell gave us 1169 through the chrono. The boss claims for 1150. So yeah, I think we're pretty well right where we should be. 1169, definitely not moving too fast or too slow. That's pretty much right where I'd want them to be for these shells. So definitely looking pretty good up here as far as velocity goes. But how does our pattern actually look? Let's go down to our target and take a look and see. Alright, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And clearly, we absolutely have a dead bird here. There is probably 15 through the brain, so it absolutely would have crushed that turkey, no doubt about it. Now, our pattern might be just a touch high, but still, this is going to give you quite a bit of leeway to work with, while still having a nice, hot, central area. Now, I still don't see what I would necessarily call a super defined core area, but the overall central 12-inch circle or so of that pattern is all pretty nice and even and pretty hot. I mean, there's nowhere within at least a 14-inch spread there from the left top edge of that turkey paper all the way off the top right corner that bird's going to be able to walk to and get away from you. Definitely a pretty good improvement over what we saw with this load through the tight wad choke, which is actually pretty surprising considering this is a 575 and the tight wad was a 570. Now, I don't know. It could have just been these shells didn't really like the tight wad all that much, or it could be that these do a little bit better with a little bit more open constriction. Now, as for the rest of the pattern, we do see a couple little strings and flyers down there at the bottom mainly, and a couple over here just off the left edge, but nothing too out of the ordinary or that I'm really too concerned about. That's a really good hunting pattern in my opinion. It's not so tight that it gives you no leeway and would make it really easy to miss a bird at 20 or 25 yards, but it also is going to give you a little bit of leeway in your distance as well. So if you're intending on taking a 40-yard shot at a turkey and you misjudge it to 45, 48, something like that, that kind of pattern is still going to get the job done for you. And it's not completely all over the place where you have to worry too much about another bird being close to him either. And if we zoom in here, there's really not any huge gaps or voids. It's a pretty uniform, pretty even spread across the main portion of our pattern. That central 14-inch circle or so of the pattern right there is beyond good enough for turkeys at 40 yards. So overall here, is it the most screaming tight 20 gauge pattern that we've ever seen? No. Is it a bad pattern? Absolutely not. It is a perfectly usable 40-yard turkey pattern out of a 2 3/4 inch 20 gauge shell, and I would not be scared in the slightest to hunt with that. I like the leeway it gives you, I like the coverage it gives you, with plenty of pellets in that core area to get the job done. So overall here, definitely liking what I'm seeing. And I'd say that this Blackmaxx with these Apex shells worked out pretty well for us, all things considered. It's definitely a turkey killing pattern at 40 yards any day of the week. Okay, and here's the wad from that shell, and as you can see, it opened up about as close to perfectly even as really what you could ask for, and there's nothing stuck down in there except the little fiber piece they have down in the bottom there, but there's no rips, tears, snags, anything like that that I'm looking at or would be concerned with. This wad definitely looks pretty run-of-the-mill, pretty normal, definitely nothing special to take note of, I don't believe, on this one. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that pattern right there? Definitely a more than good enough turkey pattern out at 40 yards. That would absolutely hammer a turkey any day of the week. And I definitely like that as a hunting pattern. It's not super duper tight to where it doesn't give you that much leeway in at closer ranges or even out at 40 yards, while not being way too broad or way too open either. It's got nice, pretty even coverage across the board, not a ton of flyers all over the place. That is a really good looking hunting pattern in my opinion. But as always, leave your thoughts about it in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you surprised one way or the other? If you've tested any of these 2 3/4 Apex shells, what kind of results have you seen out of them? And maybe what other chokes or which direction in constriction do you want to see us test with these? A little bit more or a little bit less? Have you tested them and found one or the other is better? Let me know all that down below. But at the end of the day, we have a really good looking hunting pattern there. No doubt about it. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.